Are you ready?
I'm good.
All right, thank you. We will call House File 808, Subcommittee for House File 808 to order. Representatives Height, Jurdy, and Wheeler. Unless either one of you wish to comment on the bill, we'll just start going around the room. Logan?
You want to come to the mic?
Yeah, if you could find somebody.
Well, distance from the other. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the subcommittee. Appreciate your time today. Logan Shine, representing the Governor's Office. I'll start off by saying this is a piece of the Governor's Student First Act. The package is designed to be able to give students and parents more choice in their education. This has already been through the subcommittee and committee process, so I will leave time for everyone else to give their remarks, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. And I should have started out by saying this bill went through education, is now in Ways and Means, so I believe this is my opinion that we are taxed with looking at the tax. So part of the bill. That was not intended to be a pun, that's just how it came out. All right.
Forgive me, doing double duty today. There's another step in the sun.
Melissa Peterson with the Iowa State Education Association. We are currently registered against this bill, but I think we might be able to move ourselves to neutral. We do appreciate the Education Committee taking out the ability to take any unspent TSS dollars and put it towards the flexibility account, only because per 257 and 284, the code specifically says this money is to be distributed directly to teachers. So I appreciate that we're working on a fix there. We do think that there is value in moving toward an idea that provides optional flexibility, frankly, for districts to provide some additional opportunities. Though we are a little concerned about the redirection of the TLS dollars, only because we put a lot of work into crafting that legislation, and we are hopeful that it is working as it should in some districts. We do appreciate $42 million is an awful lot of carry forward, and so we hope that moving forward, perhaps we can have a larger conversation over the interim, for example, to see what is and what is not working with that program, to understand why that money, frankly, is not being utilized to provide for the positions that we created with that legislation. Do not have any issues at this time with the open enrollment section. Also don't have any issues with the school board being responsible for student achievement. We think that that is already part of their duties, but don't have a problem with it being more explicit. I would say our primary objection left with this language is related to the tax component, and that is the increase of the tuition and textbook tax credit. We do appreciate the doubling of the deduction for the teacher supplies. However, we would prefer, frankly, to not have that if it also meant that we did not extend the tuition and textbook tax credit to homeschool students. The fiscal burden on this is substantial, and we are concerned about what impact this is going to have on revenue streams, frankly, moving forward. And so that would be our primary opposition to this bill.
Thank you. And I apologize, Tom, if you want to go next, I apologize I didn't say this earlier, Melissa, but you don't have to go all the way around the table. You can just grab that one.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks. My name is Tom Chandler. I'm the Executive Director of the Iowa Catholic Conference and also represent the Catholic schools. We're registered in support of the bill. We particularly appreciate the increase in the tuition and textbook tax credit that's found in Division 2. I think that's going to be helpful. And the other tax piece in this bill that we're supporting is the increased tax deduction for teachers. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And Bill?
Hello, Bill Gustoff with Homeschool Iowa, registered in favor of this bill. We've represented a class of citizens who've been treated as kind of second class for a long time, ever since the tuition and textbook credit has been on the books. I can give a personal example of that. My own son, we participated in North Polk School District's flag football program, and some of the same dollars to participate in that, so for supplies and for tuition, what qualifies as tuition under the way it's treated. We expend some of the same dollars for the same expenses for the same educational opportunities that for our kids that we don't get to take the tuition and textbook credit for simply because we're not in an accredited public school. So that's why we support the bill and the effort to add us to tuition and textbook credit. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Drew?
Nathan Amman with Family Leader, also speaking to the tax portion of the bill. We appreciate the expansion of the tax credit and the expansion to homeschool students. We've been pleased with legislative efforts this year to expand school choice, to give more options to parents, and we think this is a step in the right direction. We thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
Eric Goranson with the Iowa Association of Christian Schools. We were undecided on the previous version of the bill, but we really appreciate the removal of the student information system piece and just appreciate the legislature working with us on that. We are supportive of any efforts to increase the tuition and textbook tax credit, and we support the inclusion of our friends in the homeschool community, and we thank you for moving the bill forward. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on the bill? Representative Jurdy, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have some questions, I guess. One for LSA. I've not seen a fiscal note on this. Do we have any idea what the fiscal note might be for the tax credit?
So we're in the process, Laura Barbas and LSA Fiscal. So we're in the process of getting a fiscal note done. It's in draft mode right now. It should be out within the next couple days. The estimate that we have right now for that division, specifically talking about the tax credits, is for the teacher expense deduction impacted $410,000 beginning in fiscal year 2022, and for the tuition textbook tax credit, reduction of general fund revenue of $11.1 million beginning in fiscal year 2022. Also be an impact on the local option income surtax for schools of $300,000 per year. And as soon as this is through editing and publishing, I'll get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I know Representative Height, you had mentioned we've been taxed with the tax portion. However, I do have a couple other questions just for clarity purposes on page 6, Division 3, starting with section 12, I believe. This is the same as House File 385 that has passed out of the House. My concern with having this in this bill and having a piece of legislation already passed out of the House, sometimes that can muddy when we have two pieces, that are moving at the same time that address the same issue. The same is true on page 8, starting with line 9, section 15. I believe this is the same as House File 316. Except that this goes retroactively. So again, my concerns are the same with that, having two pieces of legislation go through. The next issue that I'd like to address is on page 10, line 28, subparagraph 11. Talks about the voluntary diversity plan, which, as we all know, has already gone through. And in here, it says the voluntary diversity plan is in effect January 2021 and applicable to the school year beginning July 1st, 2021. But then you go to the next page, page 11, line 16, the section of this division of this act amending section 282.18, subsection 11, paragraph A. Sorry, I'm losing myself here. Is in effect upon enactment. So line 14 through 17, effective date upon enactment. So it looks like those are in contradiction of each other, and some of the issues that I would like to address. The other portion is with the TLC transfer going into the flexible account. I would like to think that we could, because of the work that the legislature went through in creating the TLC, that we can find ways, and I think that having a study to find out what's working, what's not working, to ensure that the money that we're appropriating for the teacher leadership and compensation is having the impact in which it was intended to do, which is increase student achievement. And I certainly, without dismissing this money and saying, well, go ahead and use it for something else, I would like to find a way to make sure that we can study this, make sure that it's doing what it needs to do. If it's not doing what it needs to do, I would be happy to work with anybody to ensure that we can find ways to increase student achievement for all students in the state of Iowa.
Thank you, Representative Wheeler. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start off by saying hi to my wife who's watching. She texted me before. It was a little awkward. I would simply say I'll probably echo what many had already said. I love the piece for the homeschoolers. I love the piece for the teachers. If we remember, homeschoolers do pay taxes, so this is just a very small little tax credit for them. I like that expansion. I understand Representative Jervy's points. I'm willing to work with him as well to look at those different issues. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move this on to the Ways and Means Committee.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for going here. I would again start out saying I believe that our job is to look at the taxes, but to Representative Jurdy, to your points, and I didn't get them all, so please feel free. Let's circle back because I didn't write them down quick enough. But the first one is not the same. I don't believe is a bill that we passed earlier. The second one regarding, or the third one regarding the effective date of diversity plans. I mean, it's written the way it's written on purpose. It makes the part that says the diversity plans goes into effect January 1st, that part becomes effective immediately, so that immediately they can go to January 1st. That's how it's written. That's how LSA writes these things. But I'm happy to have further discussions because, again, our goal is not to be opposing to any previous legislation. I don't believe this is, but if it is, we can fix that. But as far as the taxes in this circumstance, I also will support it. So with that, we will close subcommittee. Thanks.